Manatee County has many waterways that flow into Tampa Bay. Runoff commonly contains nutrient-rich fertilizers, so stormwater ponds are in place to catch, hold, and naturally treat the water. Manatee County has been experimenting with a new stormwater management system using automated outfall structures for enhanced flood protection in flood-sensitive areas. This is the site at Gap Creek. Manatee County operates the automated outfall structure as a stormwater and flood protection device. The Public Works Stormwater Engineering Division monitors weather data and pond water levels, then decides when to raise the slide gate to lower the water level. Adaptive water levels provide additional volume for stormwater runoff and therefore flood protection for surrounding areas before a storm. The Natural Resources Department has added Manta F-35 probes to the automated outfall structures, hoping to provide additional water quality benefits for Manatee County. The Public Works Stormwater Engineering Division watches weather, water levels, and the added water quality data in the pond. They keep the slide gate closed for as long as possible to maximize treatment for stormwater runoff. The Manta F-35 probes have sensors for temperature, pH, specific conductivity, dissolved oxygen, chlorophyll A, turbidity, ammonium, and nitrate. They're equipped with a copper-infused silicone piece to prevent the growth of algae and a rotating wiper brush to clean the sensors. Continuous monitoring is more efficient than traditional sampling, measuring the water in real time rather than analyzing it back in the lab. This would allow us to observe trending measurements as they happen, showing treatment status and pollutant loads of releases. Here, the gate remained closed and we can see nitrate levels dropping over time. Currently, continuous monitoring and adaptive control using automated outfall structures is the most cost-effective integrated management practice for Manatee County. Controlling the volume, frequency, and quality of water released would provide flood protection and surface water quality improvements, contributing to a healthier ecosystem in Tampa Bay.
flooding in Florida is no longer just happening during storms.
We have many historic buildings here in St. Augustine, and they're very vulnerable to these high tides and then the king tides.
From king tides to everyday flooding, communities are facing more frequent impacts with less accurate information. Traditional tide predictions rely on distant stations, outdated baselines, and assumptions that don't reflect what's happening right now on the ground.
Everybody is focused on the coastline where we have a large weather event. I mean, people live along rivers and streams and canals, so being able to watch the water levels inland is very important for us.
It was back in September of 2020 where we had a king tide coupled with a rainfall event that had citywide flooding. It caught everyone by surprise. We had no data available to help us predict when thresholds are being hit and where roads potentially going to have flooding. So that was really a turning point for the city in trying to make efforts to get some type of a system in place. Now that we have Hohonu sensor available and the resources available through Hohonu, they've been able to really help us narrow in on the dates, and it's taken all that manual labor out of it. So we have a much easier system where we get those alerts ahead of time. It's very time savings for me, so that's been a huge help for us. We have our storm drainage infrastructure, so there's nuances for our community. So having that site-specific data is gonna help us be better equipped, better prepared, to be able to respond and get the community on board with that too.
After Helene hit, we were interested to see how the sensor network would perform during a second hurricane that hit just weeks later. These sensors withstood Hurricane Milton, including one on the Montletcher Bridge that survived a direct hit from a tornado to provide reliable, real-time flood data to EMs as the storm unfolded. The network revealed exactly how water levels rose and receded as Milton traveled through Lee County, creating a powerful new data set that gives emergency managers and flood modelers a clearer baseline to plan for what comes next.
I had people asking me, where did you get that data? And it was like, this is part of our new Lee County network. So I was able to show it directly for St. James City, for Captiva, downtown Fort Myers. When the First Street Bridge was being shut down, we were able to talk about it in real time. I was able to redirect my reporter to come in from the south. And so we were able to also protect our vehicles.
Hohonu offers a full stack system, data, modeling, and long-term forecasting for planning, built for decision makers.
Across Florida, agencies aren't just installing devices, they're building networks. Because when you connect multiple sites, you unlock something bigger, regional intelligence. With a network of hyperlocal sensors, Hohonu provides more data closer to the source, leading to faster and smarter decisions.
So we're hopeful that the other communities in our area and other counties that are just as vulnerable to storm surge perhaps see from the successes of this program and decide to invest some of their own.
Ferguson Stormwater has solutions for all your private site needs: subsurface storage, filters and screens, medium biofiltration systems, porous and permeable surfaces, and soil cells to help trees thrive. When we think about linear green streetscapes, we have a complete suite of solutions to meet all of your needs and overcome all the challenges related to space efficiency. Subsurface storage enhances storage under sidewalks and nature-based practices. Permeable and porous surfaces for hardscapes and the ability to reduce runoff. High-flow media systems to treat stormwater in small footprints. Filters and screens to protect both surface and subsurface assets. And finally, soil cells to help trees thrive and survive. We want a high level of aesthetics, shade, cooling, and all the other benefits that come from trees. But we don't do ourselves any favors. We dig holes, plant root balls, and pack a little soil around it. That really isn't enough for a tree to thrive and survive. Soil cells are plastic modules that suspend the pavement above while providing a zone for deep, rich, uncompacted soil to be placed. Ferguson R-Tank Urban Forest is our solution for helping urban trees thrive and survive. Chat with Nico Ramos and the Ferguson Geo team to learn more about this solution and help your urban trees thrive.
18 months ago, Hernando County faced an urgent and complex challenge. Back-to-back hurricanes triggered a surge in rebuilding across the county. Homeowners needed repairs, contractors were ready to work, and neighborhoods were eager to recover. But the permitting system was suddenly overwhelmed. A backlog began to grow, slowing down projects and leaving families waiting weeks for approvals when they needed help the most. The permitting backlog was more than just an administrative problem. It delayed roof repairs for homeowners recovering from storm damage. It slowed work for small builders and contractors, and it prolonged uncertainty in neighborhoods already under stress. Hernando County knew something had to change. Rather than adding more steps to an already strained process, the county chose to rethink the workflow itself.
Hello, my name is Omar DePablo. I'm Development Services Director for Hernando County. Although hurricanes aren't unique to the state of Florida, they are kind of unique to Hernando. We had unexpected flooding in areas that weren't designated flood zones. We had about 4,200 to 4,300 homes that showed potential damage. We already had a backlog just because of Hernando County growing so quickly. Our county, like many, has proprietary legacy softwares.
Partnering with SwiftGov, Hernando County introduced a new solution, an AI-native planning and permitting portal designed to make development review faster, clearer, and more consistent. The initial rollout focused on single-family residential permits, the most urgent need during the rebuilding process. When plans enter the portal, they are automatically screened for completeness and accuracy. The system identifies zoning-related features across plan sheets and organizes potential issues based on specific sections of the county's Code of Ordinances. Applicants receive a structured set of corrective actions, clearly linked to the regulations that apply. But the system is not autonomous.
My name is Kay Griffith. I am the Development Services Facilitator over Innovations and Technology. This particular AI is truly based upon the code that we feed into it. It recognizes the checklist, and then it goes through to the actual review.
The technology simply gives planners a clearer starting point, organized files, structured prompts, and faster access to the information they need. The results were immediate and dramatic. Average zoning review time for single-family submissions dropped from 30 days to under 8 days. This transformation allowed the county to rapidly reduce its hurricane-era backlog and restore predictable service for homeowners and builders. The success of the system quickly led to expansion. The same AI-assisted review approach now supports subdivision planning, helping planners identify issues related to access, utilities, environmental overlays, and infrastructure earlier in the review process. This early detection reduces costly redesigns and keeps projects moving forward efficiently. Beyond speeding up reviews, the portal created something equally valuable: insight. By analyzing thousands of review comments and flags, the county identified patterns that were previously difficult to see: unclear definitions, recurring drafting mistakes, and redundant steps in the approval process.
The software very quickly showed we had a lot of gaps. What it also did, remove some bureaucracy. I think it removed some steps that in the past could only be tracked by paper, and so we were able to cut back on a lot of those items and streamline it.
These insights helped guide updates to the county's development regulations. Hernando County also brought the conversation directly to the community. Staff hosted developer roundtables with builders, contractors, and design professionals to better understand the process from the applicant's perspective.
3 storms, 2 major, and we were leading the state. Huge counties to our south that were way behind.
We often, talk about government bloat and red tape. Technology is the one thing that we can look to catch us up.
And you'll see some of these software we built really is a consistency also for the customer, right? There's a demand by the state of Florida to go faster in permitting.
We're putting the information that we need in it from our system, and that's important for the long term, basically for our community to feel safe as well.
You have to be customer centric. You even said that. In our case, the residents are our customers. I really like that focus.
Today, homeowners repairing storm damage receive answers the same day instead of waiting weeks. Builders can schedule work with confidence, and county staff can focus their time on complex cases and long-term planning instead of chasing paperwork. By combining technology, professional expertise, and community engagement, Hernando County transformed a crisis into an opportunity. The result is a faster, clearer, and more resilient permitting system, and a model that counties everywhere can follow.
lot of our region looks just like this, people living right along the water. Around 2020, my job was really focused on convincing people that the risks were real. Our region hadn't been hit by a major hurricane since 1921. So I spent a lot of time exploring all these different ways to communicate risk, showing maps like this that show over 21 feet or more of tidal storm surge. We're telling these stories in these different parts of Florida. We're doing these design charrettes. We're trying to give planners the tools they need to communicate visually. And they're great visual examples, they help. But like, how do we take it to the next level? How can we best imagine some of the solutions that are possible? Allowing planners to drop in different 3D models or upload their own and then export to AR design that supports the planning concept they're trying to communicate. That's where the AR really can play to our strengths, because you're not only able to show them what could happen and what that solution could look like, but you can show it to them right there in their backyard.
Crystal River is home to one of Florida's most unique spring-fed ecosystems, Kings Bay, the second largest spring system in the state and a designated outstanding Florida waterway. More than 70 natural springs feed these waters, supporting manatees, fish, and an entire coastal community. But this ecosystem is under pressure. For years, harmful Lyngbya algae and accumulated muck-smothered spring vents blocked natural flow and buried the seagrass beds that sustain marine life across the bay. Save Crystal River launched the Kings Bay Restoration Project with a clear focus: restore seagrass, reopen the springs, and protect the shorelines and islands that hold this system together. The first objective, seagrass restoration. State-funded efforts removed harmful algae and hundreds of millions of pounds of debris, making way for large-scale eelgrass replanting. The results are clear. Nearly 800 million pounds of muck and algae removed, more than 120 acres were restored, and over 800,000 eelgrass pods planted, with seagrass now thriving in areas that were once barren. And this progress has proven resilient. Through multiple hurricane seasons, restored seagrass beds have held, proving that when given the chance, nature can recover and endure. The second objective, spring restoration. Targeted removal of debris and obstructions at spring vents has reopened more than 890 vents across Kings Bay, restoring natural flow and strengthening overall spring function throughout the system. But the springs face a connected threat. The barrier islands and marshes surrounding Kings Bay are eroding at an unprecedented rate, weakening storm and wave protection, sending sediment into the bay, clogging the spring vents restoration teams worked to reopen, and covering the healthy seagrass they worked to replant. That is why island resiliency and restoration is so critical, and it is where hybrid reefs come in. Hybrid reefs are eco-friendly, nature-based structures designed to work with the water, not against it. Placed along vulnerable shorelines, they reduce wave energy, stabilize sediment, and help prevent erosion before it starts. As wave energy slows and sediment settles, water clarity improves, giving seagrass the sunlight it needs to take root and grow, restoring habitat from the shoreline out. These reef modules also support native grass plantings along the shoreline, creating a layered system where structure and vegetation work together to strengthen the shoreline. These solutions are already in use in North Carolina and Alabama and are the next evolution of Kings Bay. Save Crystal River is putting them to work to protect restored springs, stabilize eroding islands, and give seagrass the long-term conditions it needs to survive. protecting the water, the wildlife, and the community that depends on them. Be part of the solution. Visit SaveCrystalRiver.com to support efforts to protect and restore Crystal River.